Are we going into a buyer's market here in Phoenix, Arizona? Dave Z, eXp Realty. So I've been doing real estate here about 20 years. We've only seen 4 real buyer's markets, maybe a 5th one starting. And so I want to go through where is the market, and is this a great time if you're a buyer or a seller, and just kind of give you some of the numbers. So I'm going to break this market video into 3 different series. Part 1, which you're about to watch, is supply and demand. That really helps us understand what's going on in the market, and I want to dive deep. Supply and demand. We're going to go part 2 over a lot of data sets. We're going to look at contract ratios, days on market, list price, sales price. We're going to look at a lot of data sets that help me understand where the market's going. And then on the third one, we're going to get into which cities are buyer markets and which cities are seller markets. Hopefully at the end of this video, you can start to pick up on these patterns and see as I start to post these where these opportunities are. So what I want to start with is, I think, the most basic principle of selling anything, like supply and demand. So I often refer to or look at, like, I use sports analogies when I'm talking about listing a property. You know, I like the visual because I'm a sports guy. Let's say we wanted to go, and here we're in Phoenix. Let's say we want to go to a Cardinals game, and the Cardinals are hot, or I haven't had that for a while, but let's say, oh, they're a hot demand. So let's look at ASU. ASU is a good example. I went to ASU, big football fan there. Well, they had a great season, right? Finished 7th in the national poll. And let's just say as the season heated up, I know the BYU game was expensive. Ticket prices went up and there was a big crowd there. So let's think of the scalping as real estate. So let's just say 4 of us want to go to an ASU football game. We'll go down there. And we're like, yeah, we're going in. Like, we're definitely going to go to this game. And let's just say all tickets had to go through this scalping process of, here's all the people that want to buy. And then on the other side of, like, imagine just like a roadblock, a little fence post. And we see all the scalpers, and we start to do the math. We're like, there's like 20 scalpers, and they each are only allowed to have 1 ticket, but there's 40 people that want to buy tickets. Well, if we want to get in, we're going to have to outbid those other 20. Like, I think that for me is one of the best ways to think about housing. It's like, if everybody could see that, pricing would be super clear and we would know exactly what to do, and buyers would know how to offer and sellers could stay firm and drive the price. Like, if we were confident, like, listen, there's only 20 of us to 40 of you, well, we can look at those numbers, but as a market whole, people can't figure that out. So there's always deals. I'm always surprised when somebody's acting like it's a buyer's market when it's really a seller's market, or I'm surprised when they're acting like it's a seller's market but it's clearly a buyer. We don't know because there's emotion and we just don't have that info. So, but let's look at it in those terms, and then let's flip it. We go to the game. They're not doing so great. There's 40 scalpers and only 20 people want tickets. Well, now the buyers are going to be able to call the shots because scalpers can see it. So luckily, nothing behaves that way because it's too big of a market. With 70,000 sales, how do we all get on the same page? So if you look at my screen here, we're going to look at the supply index. This is taken out of the Cromford report. It's data you have to pay for. Not every realtor wants to pay for this data, but all it is all of the data that we can find in the MLS based on closings, and it's run by Michael Orr out of Arizona State University. Great data set. So what we're seeing here is that as of July of 2025, our supply is 85.4% of what it should be. Well, then you would think it might be a buyer's market. Well, let's look at the red dot. The demand is 76.6 of what it should be. So right there, that tells you we have almost a 9-10 point swing of sellers to buyers. We have more sellers than buyers. That is going to start putting pressure on prices, because some of the sellers I work with are like, oh, we've already bought a home. We have to move. I have a job transfer. They are selling their house no matter what. Some of the sellers say, if we can get this for 20 grand over what it's worth, we'll sell and then we'll figure it out. But we don't have to. That's why you see about 35% of homes don't ever sell. They're just not actually committed to doing it. So here in this situation, we have 85.4 to 76.6. So the last time we saw that kind of a spread, if you look through, it's been a minute. When we had a slight correction, we had a buyer's market for 2 months. In December of 22, there was a 2-month buyer market, and it quickly turned back into a seller's market because you can see how the supply and demand went back to where it created that advantage for the seller. Well, here it was 82 to 77. There was it just was looking like a potential buyer's market. 81 to, let me get that read out, 77. No, not real advantage. And here, when red is on top of blue, great for sellers. So again, in 20 years, we've had mostly sellers markets with small little buyer markets. If we go back to 2014, our supply was 91 and our demand was 88. Like, that's the beginning of a potential buyer's market. More supply than demand. Well, quickly by June, it was corrected. Quickly, June supply was tied with demand. And then we saw supply start to fall. So it didn't really last long. The last severe buyer's market we had was what everybody's afraid of, is 2006. We were, look at this here on the graph, right? If you see my mouse here from 04 to 06, it kind of resembles this 20 to 22. And then are we going to then shoot into this? I don't think anybody is predicting that. This was a lot of builder speculation. This was just, we had the loan problem. If you ever seen the movie The Big Short, showed up here. Like people doing ninja loans. Like just fog up a mirror and we'll give you a loan. So supply skyrocketed because it was so easy to get mortgages. And if you watch that movie or read the book, people were like getting 5 mortgages on no income. So we don't anticipate that, but this big correction occurred because we had a supply of 211, double what it should be, and our buyer demand was at 84. That massive delta created the crash. But the last time we saw a 9-point spread, you have to go back here in 09. Let's see, we were 116 on the supply and 130. No, we were in the right there, so that was a good market. Right here in 2010, we were 133 on the supply, 114 on the demand. And that market was still trailing from the 08 crash, which lasted to about 2011. I think we're just in this minor correction, not a significant crash coming, but a lot of it's due to affordability. So that's it for supply and demand. Okay, so in this next video, we are gonna go through a lot more data sets. We're gonna look at what months of supply of homes, like what our inventory looks like, where it should be. We're gonna look at contract ratios, really big number that we need to look at. Our listing success rate, very important. It's a really big predictor as to what's gonna happen in the market. And then kind of look at the actives depending. So hope you enjoy this. I'll see you in part 2.